All right. Yeah, my 1000 days challenge. This is day 557. So let's get things started. All right, so first and foremost, in terms of balance wise, it's a little bit of a drop. So I'll explain a little bit what happened in terms of that, but I can look this purely based on experimental trade setup. So actually, yesterday I did mention that I entered a couple of long trade and it went not in my favor. But again, today I made another mistake, which was enter excessive trade, which was going against the risk management kind of philosophy that I had. And that definitely hits me back in terms of damage itself. So it definitely back in terms of square one and a little bit into negative side of things. But nothing to be too concerned about. Like what I mentioned, risk management is definitely key when it comes to trade plan itself. So do bear in mind that if you do consider trading, trade management, or risk management is something that you need to take into significant consideration in. So yeah, but that was just me trying out something a little bit and also a little bit on towards the greedy side of things, seeing that how things was trending up on the shorter time frame and trying to capitalize on it. So that's a very key mistake that you should not be making in that sense. Right. Otherwise, if you look in terms of the daily market structure itself, over the US market, still things look to be a little bit choppy and stuff like that. The S&P 500 still remains cautiously bullish, but I did mention they're staying towards slight bearish momentum simply because we're getting rejected of the key resistances right now. So another potential small drop could still take place, but if that drop is not as strong as what people anticipate, then that could ignite new buyers coming into the market because they see there's actually a lack of sellers and they want to buy back in after they sell at the top. So secondly, on the Nasdaq, similarly, the same thing. We seems to similar pattern S&P 500, but do bear in mind that it leads to a slightly bearish momentum simply because price remains below the 200-day simple moving average, which is definitely leaning towards a more bearish side of things. And then, of course, you move into ASHR itself or China market side of things. We still leads to a little bit of a bearish momentum, especially ASHR, which is actually at very critical level itself, and yet the bounce level is extremely weak, even though it seems that we want to bounce, but as long as it remains weak and the more days it spent over there, the weaker it tends to be because it means that actually buyers are not very tempted, and this goes to show and signal to the sellers that, look, it could be a good time for you to continue to short it, or it could be a good time for you to sell it and close your losing position in that sense. All right, so there's something to bear in mind. Same thing for KWAB, looked extremely weak with potential to break towards uncharted territory, especially when we continue to accumulate near the lows of the region itself. And finally, for Bitcoin itself, definitely a shift in terms of momentum to how it correlates to US market itself. We definitely improved towards the upside, but now today we actually face towards some bearish momentum. I did want us to break above the 50-day simple moving average, somewhat like this. But unfortunately, it seems that on the second day itself, we are not seeing some sort of like this. We're seeing a clear rejection pattern. But if you do look over here, we also have some of rejective pattern itself, but it's not as bearish, simply because it still managed to close in the green candlestick, and the body itself is still much bigger in that perspective. So over here, definitely do see some sort of bearish momentum, and we could definitely see some sort of rejection because this is a previous resistance region itself. Over resistance zone, you can see over to here, which is the 45, 46K mark that I did mention yesterday itself. So the peak was actually 45.5K itself. So right now, even if there's some sort of retracement and pullback, as long as we close above and stay above the 20 exponential moving average on the daily chart, I still lean towards further bullish momentum towards the upside of things. And yeah, things looks to be good. And I'll be actually keen to load up. We actually have a week retest of the 20 exponential moving average on the daily chart before we actually trends towards higher territory in that perspective. All right, otherwise, in terms of 4-hour trades, I don't see any potential trade just yet. Want some sort of retracement towards the downside, and then the retest of finding support before we make towards a potential bounce, and then after the retracement, and then a bounce, and then I'll consider a long setup. But of course, you can also form a consolidation pattern over here, in which case that is fine, then I'll enter upon the breakout. So it really depends on whether is it a pullback kind of a situation or consolidation kind of a factor kind of situation. So regardless of the situation itself, I'll play according to it. But as of today, right now, it's hard to determine whether we have a pullback or we have a consolidation or even we have a clear rejection towards the downside. All right, otherwise, that's more or less about it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop by your comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.